Hey there, Elizabeth NZ, happy traveller. Happy traveller, Elizabeth NZ. Um, don't forget the tinkle tinkle bell. Got it going. I'm just gonna put my glasses on my head. While I was speaking and talking about my UK trip, I forgot something. And I did. I really did. From the bottom of my heart, I forgot. Um, Bless his heart. Barry Stewart. Mr. Loney. Thank you ever so much for taking me to the old cemetery to show where my grandfather is buried, and thank you for sending the photos after we couldn't find his gravesite, his gravestone. And it's so funny, Mr. Loney, a genealogist, and believe me, Mr. Loney is a genie. Don't ever think, if you come from Kukantilloch, Campsie, all those areas around Scotland, Glasgow, whatever, go to Mr. Loney or Barry Stewart. Barry is a female. I had to ask ages ago whether Barry was a man or a lady, but Barry is a female. They do cemeteries and graveyards and all that kind of thing. They can tell you about your family from way back. But I've got to laugh. I'm sorry, Mr. Loney. You are a genie and you are a genealogist. The gravestone of my grandfather, Thomas Lang, it looks like a toilet. Sorry, it looks like a toilet. But when I come back, I'm going to tidy up his gravestone. I never got to meet my grandparents. I didn't even know I had family in Kukantilloch, Campsie, Glasgow, till I started searching for myself, all by myself. I'm a lone ranger. My family shunned me out the door when I was young. They shunned me when I was little. This is part of the problems that people have. We all have problems, and my problem was that I was shunned. I didn't even have my own bed. I had to share a bed, either if with my big fat sister. There was never any room with my big fat sister, and or when my half brother came along, I had to share the bed with him. So when you're young, teenager, and your father dies in 1969, Christmas 1969, you pack your bags and you bugger off. What in the hell do you want to stay around there with the yelling Scottish mother doing the voodoo dance with the when she's drunk with her boyfriends on DA beer in Australia? We lived at 168 Northcott Road, Layla Park, Blacktown, Seven Hills. I can even tell you the railway stations coming from Parramatta, Harris Park, Toongabbie, Seven Hills, Blacktown, either Doonside or the next one, Rooty Hill. Yes, Sydney has a town named Rooty Hill. But we'll go back to Kukantilloch, Glasgow, Campsie, Glasgow. All I can say to Barry Stewart and Mr. Angus Loney, a genealogist, they're both genealogists. Thank you very much for your warm heart. Thank you for opening your arms to me. Thank you ever so much for going out of your way. And when we were at the graveyard, old cemetery, it was sad and it was raining, cold, freezing. If you think of Scotland being cold, yes, it was cold this particular day, and wet. And Mr. Loney's granddaughter, eldest granddaughter. She was lovely. She is lovely. I've got to thank Mary Loney. Thank you for your Tetley's tea. I love Tetley's. We used to get it in Australia, but we don't have Tetley's tea in New Zealand now. Oh, I don't think we've ever had Tetley's teas in New Zealand. I've been in New Zealand since 1977. I became a New Zealand citizen shortly afterwards, and been New Zealand citizen forever. I've been a New Zealander longer than what I was an Australian. Went back to Australia many lifetimes ago, and here we are sitting in. It was late afternoon. Almost everyone's gone from Taronga Zoo. Taronga Zoo in Sydney, and I was sitting on the park bench laid out like this, and some wog woman came up to me and says, move alonga. And I said, no, I'm right, I'm fine. There's plenty of room for you to sit on one side and the other to sit on the other. So she says, you foreigner shitter. I look, I'm a foreigner shitter. Oh, maybe because I was dressed different. I wasn't dressed like Sydneyites, Sydney people. I was dressed like a New Zealander because I have been here forever. So we started walking and carrying on and watching the exhibits of the monkeys and the giraffes and all the other things. But they thought we were chasing them. But in the end, one of them went into the toilet. I just happened to have a plastic cup. I filled it up and threw it over the top of the woman who was having a pee in the toilet, and then swiftly walked off. And all I got was, you foreigner shitter, you foreigner shitter. Who's the foreign shitter? But go back to Angus Loney and Barry Stewart. Thank you ever so much for your kindness. And Mary, and your eldest granddaughter, and the young fella. I said, hi. I shook his hand, and I says, I'm Elizabeth from New Zealand. And he said, I'm from Scotland. And how strong was he? He's going to be a real healthy man when he grows up. He's going to be working his backside off and become a somebody. And the children are more than welcome to come over when they're old enough to spend some time in New Zealand. I'm happy to put them up. And if they want to study here, they've got a home. I can guide them. I can show them. And no one is allowed to have any friends come to the house. Reason being, not safe. If you're the eldest daughter and you've got some boyfriends, no men. And your eldest grandson, if he wants to bring girls home, you have to be celibate. I've got old-fashioned values. But of course, when my eyes are closed, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, thank you, Angus. Thank you, Barry, for the lovely open, warm arms, and Mary with your Tetley's tea. I'm Elizabeth NZ, happy traveller. Thank you ever so much, Kukantalak. Thank you for the cemetery tour. And I want to thank you to the Church of Scotland. I got a tour inside all by myself, just me, because the lady in charge, I forgot her name, I didn't write it down. She was doing the gardening and she got the keys and opened up the church, and I took photos of the inside of the church. Church of Scotland, St. Mary's, I think it's called, where my parents were married on April Fool's Day, 1949, the 1st of the 4th, 1949. My mother was 6 months pregnant hang on, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. My mother was 3 months pregnant, when she got married to my father, Joseph Patrick Shipton. My mother's name was Susan Cowan Lang, Mrs. Shipton. My sister was born in Kakantillik. Her name is Margaret Susan Shipton. She was born on the 18th of October 1949. She has many they live in Australia. She lives in a government housing. There's nothing wrong with living in government housing, but she had the best of education. Why is she in government housing when she could be bloody living in a nice house? But anyway, forget it. I was shunned away from my family from a very young age. I was never allowed to eat food in the house. They'd send me off to the Blacktown swimming pool where I lived in Layla Park. And then they'd cook up a roast. And then I would return home, say 5 o'clock, like kids do. And you could smell beautiful wafts of roast lamb and whatnot. And you walk in and and my sister will say, ha ha ha, you missed out on the food. You're not getting any now. And they'd lock the fridge. So I wasn't allowed to have anything. I says, any chance of having something to eat? And they said, no, you have a glass of water out of the tap. And of course, drinking water out of the tap in Layla Park gives you jelly belly. I had no choice. So I started boiling the jug and drinking a warm water from the jug after it cooled down a bit. And of course, slap, slap, slap. Why are you using our electricity? Why are you using our this? And why are you using that? Well, to my parents, to my sister, ha ha ha, who made the money? Not you guys. But anyway, so I escaped. I escaped to New Zealand and married my Charlie. This is part 2. There's no part 3 of this story. But thank you, Kakantillik. Thank you, Mr. Loney. Thank you, Barry. And thank you, Campsy. And thank you for the old cemetery. I do need to go back and say hello to George Nugent, who put me onto the cemetery. He must have been eyeing up where he was going to be buried when he contacted me a while ago, not too long ago, a while ago, many months before he died. He's been dead just a wee while, a year or so, I guess, 18 months. So I'm going to go back and say hello to him. There's a lot of unfinished work to be done in Kakantillik regarding my mother. I couldn't care less about my mother. And then I did the DNA test thing, and all of a sudden, all these people are coming out of the woodwork. That's great. Fantastic. I did my father's ancestry thing before DNA came out. And he was born in Partick on the 29th of May, 1919. His mother was Margaret Shipton, Shipton. She was born in 1894. She never married. Reason being, she had a stroke when she had her first child at age 11. That child is unknown. That child is not named. Then she had a second child claiming to be the first child. His name was John. And, of course, Uncle Felix Murphy, we don't know if it's Uncle Felix the son or Uncle Felix the father, Murphy, my great-granny's brother or nephew. Great-granny Annie Shipton, that she was married to Mr. Shipton. And anyway, my granny never married, and she died age 41 in Paisley in an ambulance. She had up to 15 children, and I'm still counting, but I think she only had 15. But I'm Elizabeth NZ. Happy traveller. We'll see you later. See ya. Bye.